Welcome to the Daily Insider here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving weekend. We were off for basically most of last week. Our last show was last Monday, and now we're back with you here today. And Dave Sharapan, who joins us every Monday here on the Daily Insider, he will join us coming up in just a moment to look back at Week 12 in the NFL, also some college football discussion as well. And before we get to Dave, BetMGM, they're the king of sports books. You know who they are. I tell you about them all the time here on the Daily Insider, and a great deal for new players only. Bet $10 to win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. Bet on any NFL money line, and if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Must be 21 years or older to participate. Also legal in the following betting states: Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. only. Full terms and conditions apply. That is BetMGM. They are the king of sports books. All right, let's welcome him in. Dave Sharapan. He stole that hat from Al Attles, I'm sure.
Look at that. Oh, I love this thing.
Is that Sleepy Floyd, Joe Barry Carroll? Where are you going with that?
It is. I don't know. It has that 71 patch on the side, too. So it has to be Joe Barry
Other side.
Carroll.
Other side.
Other
right
side.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
All right. It's right there. Yeah. So, yeah, it must be that team. I've always from afar liked them, but then the Run TMC is when I really kind of fell in love with them. And now, I mean, you just watch Steph play one game. And if you don't like the Warriors, then you don't like basketball.
They are, Dave. They play the Suns tomorrow. And what's amazing, we'll get to the NFL in just a moment, but hold on, I just want to pull them up, the records. Okay. Golden State's 18-2, and they blew a game to Memphis in overtime. They lost at Charlotte. Phoenix is 17-3. They were 1-3, and they've won 16 straight. And one of those losses came at the buzzer to Sacramento. I mean, that's unbelievable what these two teams have done so far.
We got so much to talk about with football, right? But we got basketball. And we get a game tomorrow. They play each other tomorrow in Phoenix. And Phoenix has won 16 games in a row. They're going to be 2-point favorites, maybe 2.5 to start. Everybody's going to bet Golden State. Phoenix is going to win. It's just, you just know the way these things happen, this is the way it's going to go. Because then they play again Friday in Golden State. And Golden State will be a bigger favorite and cover that number. So little bonus kind of look ahead to the week on the NBA, because the football weekend there's so much that went on, and we're going to talk about it all week. But I'm excited for these two basketball games this week, man. This is going to be really fun. They both play the game the way you want to see the game played. And it's great to watch. I got to go to 2 college basketball games, big-time college basketball games in person this week in town. And it reminded me again how much I love to watch good basketball.
Did you go to the Gonzaga-Duke game?
I went to both Gonzaga, UCLA, and then Gonzaga-Duke.
How was the atmosphere there?
I've never been to a college basketball game with 20,000 people there. There was 21,000 people in that arena. In the hype, just going, the buzz, everything. We got out of the car. I took my oldest daughter, Kylie, call her Big Consig, and that was her first big-time college basketball game like that. And she was like, oh, my goodness, this is incredible. You know, you got the bands and you got the people that are there, and it's Vegas on a Friday night. It was electric. And then, you know, the pregame and the game's getting ready to start and all the hype and stuff. It was an awesome game. Back and forth, all the lead changes. 2, great freshman basketball players, trading buckets at each end, and Timmy getting in foul trouble. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And I don't think it'll be the first time or the only time we see these teams play each other. They're going to see each other in March again. I only hope so as a fan, if nothing else, but as a person, who's around this business and numbers. I mean, Duke closed +9. They were +9. They won the game outright. It was a fantastic event to be at.
Let's take a look back at Week 12 in the NFL, Dave, and let's begin at Lambeau Field. The Packers beat the Rams 36-28. They knocked out the Rams last year in the playoffs, and Jared Goff was a quarterback. Now Matthew Stafford's there. Does it really make a difference? I mean, the way you look at L.A. recently, now 3 straight losses. They get Odell Beckham. I know he scored a touchdown on Sunday. They got Beckham. They got Von Miller. They're going to try to pump it all up. It feels like that's always like a negative when you go that direction and get all these guys. Green Bay still playing great. And I guess nobody really knows anything, Dave, because the Rams closed as a short favorite.
Nobody knows anything is right. I use a different word. I don't want to offend anybody, but it's NKS for me. We'll use squadouche is the polite version, the uncensored version. I don't understand who bet it, Kevin. I do not understand who bet this. The original number was Green Bay minus 1.5 or whatever. I thought that should have been 3. Then it got flipped. You know, when Rodgers showed his feet to America, everybody thought he had bad feet, I guess, or was going to be hurt, and flipped this thing. Sharp guys might move that. That was early in the week that flipped, and it stayed there. I was in the book yesterday. Everybody was rooting for the Rams. Like, a lot of people bet that. And 3 straight losses, 3 straight games with a pick 6 for Stafford. Can't seem to get OBJ involved in the right way. I don't know. Maybe it messed things up. Just watching it, I know that there's 2 different football teams there. Give me the Green Bay one as far as going forward and, you know, hosting games and stuff. I'm not saying the Rams can't do it, but the Rams can't do it with what they got right now. That team looked a little bit disjointed is an understatement.
Did you see by chance the LA Rams Twitter account a few weeks ago when they acquired these guys? Did you see what they said? It said, "We're all in," or something like that. And there was a picture of John Malkovich in Rounders.
Spraying the pot.
And everyone said, wait a minute, he lost. Don't you know that Teddy KGB lost that hand to Mike McDermott? Why are you putting up that picture? What is wrong with you?
Sometimes a lot of people running these accounts, they maybe didn't even watch the movie. They just like pick
you see a guy pouring chips.
Yeah. So you got to watch the movie. Just like you got to watch the game sometimes to be able to talk about this stuff. There's a lot of people in this space talking about these games and stuff. They don't even watch the games. Like, they just tweet the stuff or put it on social media. It's fascinating. But, yeah, not good for them right now. No splashing the pot, and he did lose the hand.
Now, the Packers, they want that rematch, I think, with the Buccaneers coming up in the NFC Championship. We'll see. But that game yesterday, Dave, in which Tampa Bay was down early to Indianapolis, Colts tied it, then Brady led him down the field. You had that Leonard Fournette touchdown, and then the Colts had that kickoff, and you thought, oh, my God, they're going to tie the game here. But what a game that was. Indy's played very well of late, but Tampa Bay finally got their first road cover.
How did Tampa win that game? Like, you're watching it, and Indy's supposed to put them away. And Tampa did what champs do, right? They take the best punch. They lean back against the ropes and gather themselves, and they come back and find a way to win. Now, Fournette should have gone down. They should have kicked the game-winning field goal. The game's supposed to fall 3, and it doesn't. One of the few games that the public side got there, the teasers covered, all that other stuff. But that was a hell of a football game, and that was the one. Like, I was kind of really watching that. The Colts are good, man. They just had a bad start. The Colts are good, Kevin. They got to find a way to get in the playoffs in the AFC. It may be pretty tough. Like, they're running out of games to get there. But I know nobody in the AFC wants to play that team. I mean, they're built to go win a playoff game outside in January, which is most likely, they're going to be on the road the whole way. So they're going to have to go somewhere cold. But I think they can win a playoff game for sure.
I think the biggest issue with the Colts is that they've been swept by the Titans. If they would have split with Tennessee, they'd still have a shot to win the AFC South. They're 2 back plus 1 back with losing the tiebreaker. But how is Bill Belichick, Dave, not the coach of the year when you look at this Patriots team? Rookie quarterback. I know there were guys that sat out last year for the Patriots that are back. Lost that game to the Dolphins week 1 on the fumble. The Cowboys game lost in overtime. The Bucs with the Brady game had a last-second field goal. I know it was long in the rain, but missed it. The Saints was the only bad game. But, man, this Patriots team, just impressive what they've been doing. They blew out the Titans on Sunday.
6 straight wins, 6 straight covers. The line moves 3-4 points on the Patriot games. It does not matter. It's getting that feeling. I'm seeing the flashbacks of 2 decades of rooting against Tom Brady and the Patriots every single week, and what they did even to my Steelers a couple of times in big games. I'm so impressed. I've been saying it for like 4 weeks now. This defense is top defense in the AFC. I think it may be top 3 in the NFL. As good as Mac's been, as good as the offense is expanding the menu, so to say, he's giving them more plays to use. They're passing the ball way more than they were in the beginning. They were strictly running the ball early in the season. All of that notwithstanding, and as great of a coach as Bill Belichick is, he should be the favorite to be the coach of the year. That market should really be closed. If New England goes to Buffalo next week, you think if you want to bet that, Kevin, you better bet it now, because if they go to Buffalo and win that game, he is going to be the favorite. Can't wait to see it. We're going to talk about that all week. The look ahead on that thing was 4. As the game started and New England started coming, winning, it went to 3.5. And when it opened again, it opened at 3. I don't think it's going to drop below 3, but man, that's another game. We got a whole week to talk about. I can't wait to watch it.
Elsewhere in the AFC, Dave, I think we need an intervention because the old Steel, rusty right now, losing to Cincinnati 41-10. A couple of things on this. Number one, season sweep for the Bengals over the Steelers. You don't see that often. Secondly, Pittsburgh had been great as a dog. They were in the Super Contest and the Circa, number 1 consensus selection, and Cincinnati just steamrolls them.
Yeah, so, I'm old enough to remember when Cincinnati was good back in like the 70s, and they had the word Bengals on the helmet, and Ken Anderson was the quarterback, and they were competitive. And then for a long time, they weren't. The Steelers dominated these season series. Well, they got dominated. They got destroyed in that game. And I'm telling you, the people around, like physically in the book, they were kind of like, what's happening to the Steelers here? That was definitely a public game, dog, whatever you want to call it, that the people did not have the favorite. So I took away 2 things. One, I've been saying all season, last year, Ben is done. There's just nothing left. You can't get him to throw the ball deep. There's no time. He's getting hit a lot more. But when the defense isn't dominating, they're just out of games. So going forward, a bet against, maybe, even on the road, they've been so good. They weren't yesterday. The Bengals. Are the Bengals going to win this division, Kevin? Like, the Bengals could legitimately win the AFC North and host a playoff game, because I don't know if you saw that game Sunday night. That set back football about 20 years. It was a disaster game, turnovers all over. Penalties are just phantom flags. It was no good to watch, but I didn't think either one of those teams was better than Cincinnati. After watching the game, I said, I think Cincinnati's going to win this division.
Let's look at that now from Sunday night. All right, so the Ravens lose to the Dolphins. Lamar doesn't play against the Bears. You give him a pass on that, even though they won that game. Then against Cleveland, Lamar throws 4 interceptions. And I know that the Ravens have had their way with the Browns over the last few years. They had that crazy Monday night game last year, that high-scoring game. But then last night you have interception. It's just ridiculous. Ravens win that game. They get the cover. It set football back a long time. But I guess looking at both teams, Dave, first with Baltimore, that they're still right there to be maybe the top team in the AFC. But with Cleveland, how do you explain what's happened to them? Is it just all on Baker Mayfield?
He's hurt. Like, I don't know how he keeps getting out there, but he cannot perform the job. There's so many times I said this about backups in the NFL. If you cannot perform the job, you should not physically. You should not. It doesn't matter how good you look on the sideline with the clipboard and all that stuff. You can't go out there. Well, now as the starter, Baker is. There's just a lot of bad decisions being made. He can't move. When he takes off to run, it looks painful to watch him run. And it's crazy because when you look at the rosters and you see the defense, I mean, the Browns have probably the best overall talent on the roster of any of the teams. Stefanski's a hell of a coach. The Browns are right there, but him being out there is like holding them back. They got to bye, right? Then they play again. We got such a good matchup on Sunday night. The next game between these two, between the Browns and them, is next week after they're off. I can't believe it. But I mean, as bad as the Browns looked, they're not even the worst team in their division. I think it goes Cincy, Ravens, 1-2, 2-1, however you want to put it. A big drop-off to the Browns, and then a bigger drop-off to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it hurts me to say, but they ain't even close to being in that mention of being even in the playoff race, let alone competitive for the division.
This game, one of the late games on Sunday, Dave, the 49ers, they beat the Vikings 34-26, kind of a wild game. You had that zany finish where Kirk Cousins lined up under the guard, and Kirk Cousins reverted back to Kirk Cousins. San Francisco playing very well now. That's 3 straight wins, 2 of them at home where they had been terrible, beating the Rams and beating the Vikings at home. And Minnesota, again, the roller coaster, Jekyll and Hyde, whatever you want to call them, they're in all these games, but somehow they found a way to just fall short again. Man,
Minnesota just continues to Minnesota. Like we said it about the Chargers are going to Charger when Anthony Lynn was a coach. You just feel bad. Like you just know what's coming. When you're watching it, they have a lead, or when they're down and they're coming back, you know they're going to be in the game. You just don't know how it's going to end, whether they get it on the right side of it or not. And yesterday they did not. He didn't line up behind the center. You're right. Got behind the guard. And then on 4th down, didn't get that conversion in the end zone. And you knew, right? You knew they weren't going to come back. The Niners go all the way down the field, take a 7-minute drive, and go to kick a field goal. Robbie Gould never misses a field goal. He missed a field goal. Leaves them in the game. They get down there again, and then, he doesn't get a first down, and it's over. So, I don't know. San Francisco is going to get that label of the team that nobody wants to play in the playoffs. The way they play defense. And as long as they don't turn the ball over too much, I think they're going to be fine. But like I saw Debo go down yesterday. There's some injuries. Dalvin Cook went down for the Vikings. This making the playoffs and winning the Super Bowl is as much about being good as it is a battle of attrition. It's just you got to stay healthy. And if you don't, you got to have guys behind you to physically perform the job. So a couple big injuries there. So we'll see how that goes going forward. But San Francisco on the way up, Minnesota on the way down.
Let's take a look at the Monday night matchup. It's a big one. It really is, I'm sure. Seattle and Washington, they meet up in D.C., and this is flip back, pick 'em, one. It's kind of in that ballpark. But the Seahawks, they've been terrible offensively. They were better ATS with Geno Smith at quarterback than with Russell Wilson. Washington, on the other hand, Dave, they beat Tampa Bay off the bye. Brady throws a couple picks. They go to Carolina, and now we see the Panthers aren't that great, and Cam's not that great anymore. But what are your thoughts here on this Monday nighter to close out Week 12?
Cam's definitely not great, but Cam's hats are great. Have you seen? I mean, I don't know if you saw. I'm going to post a picture later on the Twitter. His post-game hat game is tremendous. I look up to him for the hats. This game tonight is a game that I would not touch if it was on Sunday. This is one of those that I think you're seeing a lot of action on, or people talking about it, because it's a standalone game on a Monday night. I have no idea what to make of Seattle, other than Russ has not looked like Russ yet, especially since he's coming back from this injury. He looks just behind a step a little bit. So Seattle's offense has been dismal. With Geno Smith, it was very conservative, very pedestrian, and a lot of the games went under. So now this total's been adjusted a little bit. It's 47. I'm thinking under again. They've been kind of an under train. So the flip, I can't explain the flip. Washington should be favored. But road teams have been so good in the NFL. I guess people bet them too, and it goes that way. So you have to move the line. So from 1 on the bottom to 1 on the top, that's 1 bet. I mean, that's the way I would move the line. I wouldn't even go to pick on the game. I just make flip the favorite is what I used to say all the time. So 1 to 1, that's 1 limit bet. Don't read too much into it. Do I think it'll come back? Once it flips, it usually does not. So you usually see, sharp guys taking the plus money dog on both sides in this thing. I like Washington. I liked Washington before the week. I like Washington still. I you can't be afraid of sometimes when you like a side and the line flips. Green Bay was the best play today yesterday. I was on it, -1.5. So keep the CLV. Give me the dub.
Now, what do you think about this coming up Thursday night? Mike McCarthy tested positive for COVID, Cowboys coach, so he's out. I read the report, 8 people were close contact or tested positive. You had no big names. Not to say it doesn't matter because you tested positive, like you don't matter, but it wasn't Dak, it wasn't Ezekiel Elliott, it wasn't any of those guys. And we know Amari Cooper had a COVID issue too earlier. So what do you make of this? The Saints were blown out on Thursday night by the Bills. Cowboys lost that game to the Raiders, which they dug themselves a hole. They came back, but still both these teams not playing well at the moment.
You hit me with a tweet yesterday, and I couldn't wait to talk to you today. I wore this ridiculous suit for you. With the text came to me on Saturday about Michigan State has the flu. Actually, it came on Friday. And I reminded you of my cousin Vinny when he said the whole store has the flu. And the line moved on Penn State from pick to -5 because Michigan State had the flu. Well, now Dallas got the COVID. But we don't know who has it. We don't know who's going to coach, who's going to this, who's going to that. Sometimes the number is the number for a reason. What is it going to come down? You're going to get a discount on Dallas? I need to know who's playing. I got to be honest. I don't like to bash coaches because I give them respect for getting to that position and doing what they do. But McCarthy maybe taking a bye week it may be okay for the Cowboys right now. Like him being able to just sit in a hospital or at home like Lou Brown did, put an earpiece in Major League.
I love this English stuff.
Right. And just sit there and watch them call plays for the right guys. It might not be a bad thing for the Cowboys. If the number comes down, I'll play the Cowboys double unit. I can't believe it. It's almost like it's a setup. Those injury plays, the flu plays, the ridiculous suit plays, they don't always get there. They still have to win.
Now, as far as some college football, let's get to that from the weekend. What really stuck out to you? I mean, you had the Iron Bowl. Alabama almost lost, but of course Saban wins. That's what he does. But with the top 4, Georgia's in regardless. I think if they lose to Alabama, Georgia's the only one that's locked in.
Correct.
Alabama loses. I'm guessing they're out. Cincy controls their own fate. Michigan controls their own fate. But what happens if you have the situation where Cincinnati loses to American, Michigan loses to Iowa, Alabama, they lose and they're out? How do you figure this whole thing out?
I can't wait for it. I mean, the takeaway from Saturday was Michigan. Michigan beating Ohio State and Jim Harbaugh exercising all of the stuff that he's had to take all this time. Listen, I'm a Penn State guy. I can't stand either one of these teams, but I always root for the Big Ten when Penn State's out of it by mid-October because they can't adjust and they lose games to Iowa and stuff like that. So I always root for one of the teams. And for years, it's always like, oh, get Ohio State in there so they can beat somebody like Bama or they can beat Clemson because they were the best team. Well, when I saw the line for this game, I was like, wait a second, Michigan how can they be over a touchdown at home, a dog? So I think Michigan is the best team. Like they have a nasty, nasty defense. They run the ball until you just don't want to tackle them no more. Ohio State is awesome to watch. I mean, they are electric offensively. Defensively, I mean, you saw what happened. They got punched in the mouth. They couldn't stop them. The snow and everything played into that, but that was my takeaway. Bama should have lost that game, so we could have been done talking about them being in. making sense of this is impossible right now. Because if they find a way for Bama to get in, even if they lose to Georgia, I'm going to be really mad. The other team I think we got to keep an eye on is Notre Dame. Because if you said what you said, Iowa beats Michigan, the Big Ten is out again. They ain't getting a team in. And a team like Notre Dame can come right in the door right there. So Cincinnati got to win. They're looking for every reason in the world to keep them out. So if they lose, they're out. They have to win the game. They don't have to cover, but they got to win. And then you got the ACC championship with Wake Forest and Pitt. Like, the game is a 3-point spread. The total 73. Don't sleep on that game for entertainment. That one may be electric to watch with a lot of juice, like my buddy Kevin Walsh likes to say all the time. So I can't wait for Saturday. I already put the request in. No duties, no nothing. Please on Saturday. All the lights are up. Pap did all the lights. We got all the stuff set up. We got all, holidays are here. But Saturday, leave me alone. I got college football to watch from Baylor, OK State in the morning. Another crazy game that I think OK State can get in to the playoff with a win and maybe some help. Maybe they don't even need a help. They might get in too, Kevin. I don't know. The fourth spot's going to be nuts. If the favorites win, the fourth spot is up for grabs.
What are your thoughts on all these coaching changes? I mean, we look at Lincoln Riley, and he leaves Oklahoma to go to USC. And obviously, USC is a glamour job. I mean, Oklahoma's a really good job too. But I just want your thoughts on this, not necessarily of how he's going to help USC, but of – I hate to use the term lying, the whole like, I'm not going here. I'm going to be here forever. Okay, I'm leaving the next day because I found a better opportunity. And it's not about like Billy Napier, who went from Louisiana, Florida. I get it. You're going from the Sun Belt to the SEC. There's no disputing that. But something like that, Oklahoma, really good job. USC, good job. But they're just struggling now to be like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here. Okay, bye.
It's annoying. It's annoying. I mean, like, you know, I coach kids. It's a way different level. But when you tell these kids to come here to go to school, they believe you. And you tell their parents, like, you know, my oldest is now a freshman at school. And, I mean, one of the lessons was, listen, we're going to pick the coach as much as the school. And, I mean, I respect the coaches for, you know, taking a quote-unquote better opportunity. But, man, it's a tough slap in the face to the kids. It's a good dose of reality that, listen, I say it all the time, world's a hard place. Don't get too attached to some people because if things come up, they're gone in that situation. So, I mean, this whole time, was he talking to them this whole time, or did they lose that game and they called him and said, hey, here's the bag. Do you want it or not? Because we're going to give it to somebody else. I mean, obviously they were talking before that. That didn't just happen Saturday night. We get on a plane. Sunday, he's the coach. So, man, it's annoying. It's just – and as a fan of a team, you can't get too attached to the coach. I mean, I've been like this with Penn State with Franklin. He's got one foot out the door every year. Oh, he signed to a 10-year contract. There's a 2-year out. He's going to use it to get another raise in 2 years. He's going to, you know, negotiate or just tell everybody he's not going while his agent's telling him he's going to wherever the next school is going to be, the next hot hire, so you can get a raise. I understand what they're doing on both sides, but I don't think it's right. And as a fan, it's annoying as hell.
Look at the good side. Tomlin and Franklin didn't get the USC job. Right?
Is that a good job? Like, seriously, I mean, it's a cool job. Like, but you're going to just turn it around? I mean, kids don't need to go to USC anymore from Southern California. They can go everywhere. I think that the real hint of this that Lincoln Riley will never say out loud is that Oklahoma going to the SEC kind of went, oh man, we're gonna be a middle of the road team or worse in the SEC. How are we gonna beat Bama? How are we gonna beat Georgia? We ain't. I gotta get out of here. Put it out there. USC's, that's a good job. I'll take it. You know, tell the agent. That's the thing I think is the hidden part of this story that no one's going to ask and he ain't going to say. But, I mean, that's the number one question. Why'd you leave? Was it the money? I don't think so.
Now look at even Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher left Florida State to go to Texas A&M. That guy's never winning an SEC championship or going to play in an SEC championship because the side they're on in the SEC. That guy's getting $100 million, stadium renovation, all of that, never going to an SEC championship.
At some point, I think as a person, you have to either accept the money or try to win in those situations, right? Like, who's going to LSU next? Like, at some point, you're going to have to realize you better catch lightning in a bottle once, but it's going to take 5 years of top recruiting classes and then staying healthy and then to get good on that level again. Bama's a factory. They're just churning it out every single day. And Saban is the best at it. That's what your competition is against. He took Kirby Smart, left, and went and did it at Georgia right now. We'll see if they're able to repeat it. So, man, you want that job? I don't think you do. I'll go, California, USC, Pac-12. We could turn that around pretty quick, and then you start winning again. The purpose of the sports is to win. Like Herm Edwards said it, right? You play to win the games. I want to win more games. If it means making $80 million instead of $100, and I'm at a school that it keeps winning, I'm okay with it. But that's me. People are different, man. People are different.
Dave Sharapan, you can find him on Twitter, Sportsbook Consigliere, SportsBKConsig. He joins us every Monday on the Daily Insider. Dave, we appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week when it's December. So another busy month, and we look forward to it.
Unbelievable, Kevin. I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy that basketball game on Tuesday. Who do you like, by the way? Warriors? Suns?
I haven't decided yet.
Fair enough.
Stay tuned. How does that sound?
Tweet at me. Don't maybe put on a ridiculous suit. Maybe we'll do that.
Telling you, that suit, you know what? He had to wear something. The other one went in the mud.
I'm going to go find that suit, maybe and go to the SEC championship this week in Atlanta. Show up like that. That'd be pretty funny.
I like that. Yeah, that was the Lamar Jackson Heisman suit, I think. It was the same one for my cousin Vinny. Look back at the picture of that.
I'll talk to you later.
That's it. We've had enough. Bye.
See you.
There's Dave Sharapan. Always happy I make him laugh. All right, let's talk about WynnBET and the WynnBET mobile sportsbook app. That's right. You can get on iOS or Android devices. And when you download the WynnBET mobile sportsbook, you're a new patron. You get a $1,000 risk-free first bet with a $20 minimum first deposit and eligible sports bet. When you use the promo code VIBONUS, that means if you lose your first wager, you get it back up to $1,000 as a free bet credit that you can use for another bet. The WynnBET promo code will expire soon, so make sure to grab it while you can. That is the WynnBET mobile sportsbook app. All right, so before we get out of here, I just want to give you a couple of other things going on tonight. NBA, quick rundown of the games, a big slate. Magic and the 76ers, they meet up in Philadelphia. 76ers coming off that double overtime loss to Minnesota this weekend. They got Joel Embiid back. Sixers laying 2 touchdowns tonight, laying 14 to Orlando, and that total at 204.5, 205. I'm telling you, these totals are dropping. They are dropping. It's not like it was last season. Nuggets and the Heat, round 2, but Nikola Jokic may not play tonight because he's been banged up. And Jokic with that wrist injury, he's missed some time. Denver has gone backwards of late. I believe it's 6 straight they've lost. Heat laying 7.5 there against Denver, total of 208.5. Thunder and Rockets was a really good playoff series a few years ago. Not so much now, but Houston going for their 3rd straight win. They were 1-16. They're now 3-16. They just beat the Bulls and the Hornets. Houston, a short favorite there against OKC. The teams have split their first 2 matchups. Indiana's at Minnesota. Timberwolves have been playing very well. 6 of 7 they've won. They've won 4 straight at home. They're back to 500. Indiana coming off a loss to Milwaukee yesterday. Pacers, though, 3-1 with no rest this year. T-Wolves laying 2.5. Hornets and Bulls in Chicago. And the Bulls laying 5.5. Total of 224.5 between those 2 Eastern Conference squads. Cavs and the Mavs in Dallas. Mavericks laying 6.5. Total of 210.5 in that contest. Wizards and the Spurs in San Antonio. And Washington, a 3.5-point road favorite. Portland is at Utah, total of 222.5. Jazz laying 7.5. And the Pelicans face off with the Clippers, and LA laying 7 after they lost to Golden State yesterday. The Pelicans, now 5-17, playing a little better, 211.5 that total. In college basketball, the ACC Big Ten Challenge begins tonight. Iowa and Virginia, they meet in Charlottesville. The Cavaliers now flip to a favorite, laying 2 at most spots against Iowa. Hawkeyes are undefeated. Also, Notre Dame and Illinois, the Fighting Illini, a 4-point favorite. That line is dropped over or against the Fighting Irish. And Illinois opened up laying 6.5 is now down to 4. And those are the big games inside the ACC Big Ten Challenge coming up tonight. Hockey, only 4 games. Kraken looking to stay hot. They're in Buffalo against the Sabres. Also, Arizona's at Winnipeg. Jets laying 300. Canadians and the Canucks in Montreal. Both teams are struggling. Pittsburgh and Calgary wrap up the night. And the football game between Seattle and Washington tonight. And the Seahawks looking to somehow get their offense on track. Washington, they played better of late. They've won their last 2 games. BetMGM, they're the king of sports books. And we tell you about that all the time. Bet $10 to win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. That's for new players only. Bet on any NFL money line, and if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Must be 21 years or older to play. And also in the following legal betting states: Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. only. Full terms and conditions apply. That is BetMGM. They are the king of sports books. Again, my thanks to Dave Sharapan for joining us as he does every Monday here on the Daily Insider. We'll be back with you coming up tomorrow at noon for another edition of the Daily Insider. And we will talk to you then. I am Kevin Rogers. And as always, like we tell you every day, best of luck with your bets.